All right. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to Live from NCCE. And I'm super excited today because we have two amazing educators from the great state of Georgia. We have Felisa Ford and we have Natasha Rachel, and they are here to help us get into good trouble with Minecraft. As John Lewis said, you must be bold, brave, and courageous and find a way to get in the way. Ladies, tell us how we can get into good trouble with Minecraft.
Absolutely. So we are so happy to be here with Live from NCCE. We're going to jump right in. I'm Felisa Ford, a digital learning specialist from Atlanta, Georgia.
And I'm Natasha Rachel, also a digital learning specialist in Atlanta.
So we are the co-creators of the Minecraft Good Trouble lessons, along with our colleague Ken Shelton. And we are just so happy to be here sharing this content with you. So briefly, we're just going to go over our slideshow, and then we're going to jump right into the Good Trouble world. So Natasha, you want to tell them about the backstory?
All right. So I guess it's probably been about a year ago now, at the height of the social justice movement. Right before last summer hit, Felisa received a phone call and to create some lessons for Good Trouble. And so Good Trouble kind of emerged out of us creating these lessons. Of course, Ken Shelton was a part of this work, this needed work that took place. And of course, being close, me and Felisa living in Atlanta, it was near and dear to our hearts to make sure that John Lewis was very well represented. And thus came the title of the lessons, or the world of Good Trouble. There are 7 lessons included in the Good Trouble world that we'll kind of talk through today. And there's also 2 identity lessons. And we also got to take part and do some work with the Hour of Code too. So the Hour of Code that happened this 2020.
Right, December 20th.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, super exciting.
Right, a lot of people don't know that. But just here's an example of one of our Good Trouble lessons. This is the one on civil rights. And at the end, we're going to show you one of the lessons. But these lessons, they really do a deep dive, and they're from grades 8 years old up to high school. And we really try to scaffold these lessons and provide a differentiated approach so that whether you're an elementary teacher or a high school teacher, you can teach these lessons.
Absolutely. And we know that John Lewis, here he is in his younger days, and of course, in his older days, was just an extraordinary example of what getting into good trouble is. That was his motto, get in some good trouble. And so, of course, we know that he stood up for the rights of others, starting in the civil rights movement. Well, even before then, but then throughout the civil rights movement and all the way up until his last days here with us.
Right. And one thing that we want to stress with these, especially for students, is that these were just ordinary citizens who did some extraordinary things by standing up for others, and they can do the same thing. We just like for them to make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, it's going so fast. So we have a true connection with Congressman Lewis. We are from Atlanta. He represented the 5th Congressional District here in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta Public Schools is in that district. He was my congressman, and he was held as the conscience of Congress. So we would often see him in our district. So this was really near and dear to us. And we're just going to share briefly why we came up with this theme. So if it buffers, I will pause.
I met Rosa Parks at the age of 17. In 1958, at the age of 18, I met Martin Luther King Jr., and these 2 individuals inspired me to get in the way, to get in trouble. So I come here to say to you this morning, on this beautiful campus, with your great education, you must find a way to get in the way. You must find a way to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.
So that just summed it up for us. And that's why it hit us that this topic of good trouble was so important. It was the perfect title for these lessons, because these people got into good trouble, necessary trouble for their time, for their space. And we want students to just be able to make those connections.
Yes, and Tammy didn't even know that that was clip was going to be in there, and that was the quote that she gave at the beginning. So that was an awesome segue. So throughout these Good Trouble lessons, students are going to start off with the Black Lives Matter movement, so critical right now and so important. And then we take them through. They will meet people like Malala. They will meet Nelson Mandela. They will meet. Oh my gosh.
Gandhi, they
Gandhi,
meet
Dr. Martin
Gandhi.
Jr., Rosa Parks. They meet so many amazing, extraordinary people, ordinary people who did extraordinary things. And so they go through all these different worlds. It's one world with like 7 mini worlds inside of it. It's really cool. So we're so excited to show it to you.
Right. And I think what's key is that we really wanted students to see that no matter where you live in the world, there are people that look like you that have gotten into good trouble standing up for the rights of others. So that's why we made sure that we had a broad spectrum of catalysts for a positive change. That was really important to us.
From all across the world.
From all across the world. So as Natasha said, these worlds are not linear. You can go into one at a time anyway, in any order. So whether it's for Black History Month or the Women's History Movement, you can move around. So that was important as well.
And of course, Malala is another catalyst for positive change. So we'll show you how you can get to her world as well.
And then we will take you to the US and the Civil Rights Movement in Birmingham. Selma will talk about that. So we go from Pakistan, we go from Washington, D.C. So we're just jet setting all over the globe, just showing how people have gotten into good trouble and continue to get into good trouble standing up for others.
Absolutely. And of course, Nelson Mandela and the apartheid movement, we go through that. Amazing, amazing world. The engineers who built this world were absolutely, I mean, they're the most talented people I've ever had the chance to work with. We gave them an idea and they like made it happen. There were lots of tears shed throughout the creation of these worlds. Just to see a vision come to life was amazing.
Right. And as Natasha said, when we explained what we wanted and then they would bring it to life, and especially at the height of what was going on, it was really emotional for us, but they couldn't have done a better job. It's just, they really brought our passion to life, and we just were so pleased to share this with the world. And then we have students go to Gandhi to see how Gandhi stood up for the people's right and India's fight for independence, and how he devoted his life to good trouble standing up for others.
And the last, well, they go through one little piece at the end, but the piece before that, the last kind of world that they will enter is in England, and they will meet Emmeline Pankhurst, who we learned about through our research and creating these worlds. And she was a part of the women's suffragette movement. And so she was very critical in making sure that some women had the right to vote. And so we get to meet her as well.
All right, and then this scene here just brings it full circle to us and just really helps us make that connection. And this was one of the last scenes that we saw Congressman John Lewis standing in the middle of Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. And we just had to have that in the Minecraft world. And the engineers were able to replicate that scene for us. The first time we saw Black Lives Matter Plaza in Minecraft, that was a moment full of tears. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And so what is going to happen is once you get into the Minecraft Education Edition, it's also available in the regular version of Minecraft as well. So you can get it in both. We're going to talk about it through the EDU, the Minecraft EDU portal today. That's the one that I'm going through today. You're just going to sign in with your school account. You're going to hit play and then view library. And then you can either go to lessons or worlds and find the world that says equity, find the category that says equity and inclusion, and look for the one titled Lessons in Good Trouble. And then you'll hit create world, and that's what's going to create your world. You'll also notice this is where you can access the full lesson plan, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, and any resources that we have available for you as well. And we have a ton of resources for our educator friends.
And Natasha, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can explore the good trouble world.
All right. So I am There we go. So we are in, right now, we are in the lobby. So once you click into the Minecraft world, the Good Trouble world, you will be in what we call the lobby. And I'm just going to kind of show you, you'll notice here, there's an image of John Lewis and Dr. Martin Luther King here on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, which we'll show you in just a little bit. And you'll notice that there's all these different NPCs that are here. And what's great about that is that you can teleport directly to any of their individual worlds. So you may just want to focus on the Gandhi lesson. So you can go to Gandhi and click on him and transport directly to his world, instead of having to like walk through all of the worlds that we have for you. You'll also notice here as you come into the lobby that you are greeted by Congressman John Lewis right here. We give you a little bit of information here. And then over here on the podium, if I click on that, you'll notice that there is a book here. So in this book, it's 22 pages. You definitely want to make sure that your students spend some time here in this activity guide. It gives them kind of some information to look out for the yellow beacons. Those are where all the activities are. I don't know if we mentioned that. We have activities in every one of the worlds that are there. There's some questions that are in here. So definitely encourage your students to spend some time in that book. That can also be downloaded as well.
And Natasha, I also want to say that we have a lot of activities outside of Minecraft to extend what they learn in Minecraft. So that was really important for us to have them continue that conversation.
Absolutely. So great point. So for those teachers or students that don't have access to Minecraft for whatever reason, there are lessons and activities available for you to take part in as well. So we are going to start here with Dr. Martin Luther King and the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. And so when we click on him, we get some information. We love that Immersive Reader is built right here into Minecraft. So for your students that have hearing impairments, we are here to support them and make sure that they have everything they need to be successful as well. And then we can go straight into, there we go. We have teleported into the Civil Rights Movement. And so there's a few different things that we want to show you, but we're just going to go through. Of course, if you click on any of your NPCs, we have Congressman John Lewis here, Dr. Martin Luther King here. Of course, if you click on them, you will receive some different information about what's going on in this particular world. We've also included a lot of links. So you'll notice that your NPCs, if you want to learn more about Dr. King's life, we can go ahead and click on My Life, and it will take us outside of Minecraft and give us some more information. A link to his I Have a Dream speech, his profound speech is right here as well. And so you'll notice that, again, as you click on those NPCs, that you are getting a lot of information. So make sure that your students are clicking on those. And we're just going to kind of take a look around here and do a little pan around so you can see how amazing this world is. Of course, we have our library, and we're going to talk about how important it was to us to make sure that that library was included, and a lot of books are included because Congressman John Lewis was a huge believer in making sure that students read. And so here's our activity. There's our yellow beacon that we're looking for. So if I come up here and click on Dr. King, it talks about Greensboro, North Carolina. It talks about the sit-in that took place, or the numerous sit-ins that took place in Greensboro, North Carolina at the lunch counters. And so you can learn more information here. And then doing the activity. So in this activity, it's giving us access to our chest. So we can go ahead and grab our book and quill, bring that down into our inventory, because in this particular activity, we want our students to reflect. And so what I'm doing now, and I'll go back out and show you the big W in case you didn't see it, is we're walking into one of those segregated lunch counters. And you'll notice that our African-American NPCs are on one side and Caucasian NPCs are on the other, because this lunch counter was definitely segregated back in the 50s and 60s. And so as our students are learning more about what happened in the 1950s and 60s, they will understand why that was set up that way. And this is a Woolworth's lunch counter. That's that big W there. And so our engineers were able to make sure that that was represented. You'll notice here, of course, we have the bus here that Rosa Parks. I'm bumping into everything. Forgive me. So we can go ahead and come up here on the bus, and we'll notice that I'm on a different computer today, and of course it's acting wonky. John Lewis is here waiting for us so we can meet John Lewis. And then here is Rosa Parks. And when we click on her, she talks about the sit-ins. I'm sorry, she talks about the Montgomery bus boycott. Why can I not click on her? What's going on? There we go. The bus boycott and how she got into good trouble and was a catalyst for change just for standing up for what was right. So again, we can learn more about her, and we can go and learn more about the bus boycott. So I'm going to come down, and you'll notice the little details, like here's the bus stop. I'm going to come across here and show you, here we have a water fountain. Of course, it's all nice and beautiful. It's a drinking fountain. This is the white only drinking water fountain. There's flowers. And if I come over to this side, you'll notice that it is not as nice as the other one. This was the water fountain for colored people back in the 50s and 60s. And so it was very important to make sure that these little touches were all throughout the world so that people could really understand what it was like. So as we try,
and a great way to spark conversations and have students just really be able to do a comparative look at, the situation, but in a world where they could understand. Natasha, right, before we go further, Tammy, do we have any questions from the audience?
Felisa? Can you hear me, Felisa? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. So the question was, how would you best, everyone loves this. They are just going nuts. How clever to use Minecraft as a tool to teach social justice. How would you best integrate this in a lesson plan? Like, would you do whole class to share screen like you are now, so you make sure the kids go to the right places? Because I have some squirrely fifth graders that might go to the wrong places just to explore. Would you have them do independent? And do you recommend a certain age group?
So we start at 8 years old because, like I said, we have content that is age appropriate. It is definitely differentiated. And to start off, maybe you want to do a whole lesson where the teacher is showing it on the screen to do a walkthrough, and then maybe a gradual release so that the students know where they're going. But within these lessons, we start off with the whole class discussion conversation to level set, so that everyone knows. So there's a whole class activity at the beginning of every single lesson so that everyone is on the same page.
Perfect. I think that answers the question. That was all we had for now, but keep it up, ladies. This is amazing.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
So I always pause right here because as I turn left, you are going to be absolutely blown away at how accurate and amazing the engineers were to create this visual of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And so Felisa has actually been to the bridge. I have not been yet. I've been close to it, but haven't been able to get there yet. But of course, if I come up here, I can click on my civil rights activists and get some information about what I'm about to see. You'll notice that the protesters are on either side of the street. And the closer I get to the bridge, I don't want to fly. I want the big reveal. There we go. So here is the bridge. And this is the bridge that Congressman John Lewis, Dr. Martin Luther King, and numerous other people, Hosea Williams, marched across on what we came to know as Bloody Sunday. And so as I continue to walk across the bridge, if you come to the side, you'll see that there is water on either side of the bridge. I don't know if I can get up here so you can see. So the engineers, you can kind of see it down there, really took time to make sure that every detail was there. I mean, even just looking up.
And that was so important to make sure that to have the water, because the actual bridge, this was a conversation that Congressman Lewis had when we went on the march, that you have water on both sides. There were miles of people behind, and then you're about to see what was in front. So there was no way that they could jump off the bridge to escape what they were about to experience.
And they knew that going over, they knew. So like Felisa just said, the miles of people waiting or in front and behind, well, they were at the beginning. So in front and behind them, and then the water on both sides. And this is what was waiting at the end of the bridge. So you may notice that our congressman has had a little bit of a costume change here. He is now in that white trench coat. He has a backpack on. If I go behind him, Hopefully he won't turn around. I can catch him quick. Ah! Oh, I keep missing it. He has a backpack on as well. And that was important, another important feature that we wanted to make sure that the engineers captured. In that backpack, Congressman John Lewis, when he was alive, would tell the story about the fact that he knew as a result of marching across this bridge that he was going to be arrested. So in his backpack, he had an apple, an orange, a toothbrush, toothpaste, and 2 books because he knew he was going to get arrested. He wanted to make sure that he had something to eat, he could brush his teeth, and that he had something to read. And so it was so important to us to make sure that he was depicted here. You can see he also has hair now in this image with that infamous trench coat that he had on and that backpack. And so you'll see there's dogs and police waiting. And this again is what we came to know as Bloody Sunday. When they were beat, John Lewis received a concussion crossing this bridge. And so we just wanted to make sure that students would have a true understanding of what happened on that day. And so we have some links here, his role in Selma, and then Selma's impact on the civil rights movement. And so as you guys, as our teachers are teaching all about these social justice movements to their students, we definitely gave you a ton of information there. So I'm going to come through here. There's my green beacon. That's going to tell me what to do next. If I click on him, what I'm going to do now at this point is I'm going to fast track back to the lobby because I want to share a detail with you that's in Black Lives Matter Plaza. So I'm going to go to the United States. You'll notice we are here in Washington, D.C. And if, come on.
He won't allow you to fly.
Okay. So you can see I'm trying to get up there and fly. I'm having an issue there. But this is Black Lives Matter Plaza. And I'm just going to quickly jump through here. Again, you see all the NPCs that you're able to speak with. We also have in here the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. So you'll learn about the actual movement and why it came to be as a result of Trayvon Martin being murdered. Come on, trying to get there fast. So you'll notice the protesters on either side of the street. Here are, I believe these are, nope, keep going. I keep walking through people. Everybody always thinks that's funny. Here we go. So you'll notice small details on the signs, like all of the signs say, you know, respect and equality and justice, say their names, Black Lives Matter. And so we really spent a lot of time making sure, there we go, making sure that the small details were paid attention to. And so the activity here is that, as we know, street art was a big part of the Black Lives Matter movement. And a lot of people express their frustration and their anger and their hope in the form of street art. So the activity for here is that students can come to the chest here and create their own version of street art, either on the street or on the wall there. And I wanted to come right here because one of the things, Felice will tell you, I'm like the storyteller.
This is my favorite part.
I know this is our favorite part. Well, one of our favorite parts.
Yeah, right.
You can't pick one. It's like picking your favorite kid. Is the fact that John Lewis was so adamant about enforcing reading. And he tells the story. You can find videos on it all on the internet. He tells the story of going to get his first library card, I believe when he was in the 4th grade. And he went to the library and the librarian told him that you cannot get a library card. Library cards are not for colored people. They're only for white people. And so he was so heartbroken because he wanted to get a library card. And he actually, as he got older, went back to that library to give a speech, and he had his library card, and it was just absolutely amazing. And so if you'll notice on the side here, these buildings are actually books with the titles of some of the books that he actually wrote. So to just think how and this is a large book here, to think about how powerful that is, that you go from not being able to get a library card to actually writing your own books. And so we just wanted to make sure that we showed you the details that were actually placed here in the world. Felisa, anything else before I click out and hand it back to you for lesson plans?
I think that is it. We can go ahead and go to the lesson plans.
Okay. So Felisa is going to share her screen.
So just going to, as we go, and I'll just go here to the good from Malala. I'll go to Malala and let you see. But there, each lesson has a full lesson plan, and we drop the link to the good first lesson, the Good Trouble lesson. But when you come to the lessons, make sure that you actually get the full lesson, because if you just use the lesson that's provided in Minecraft, you don't get all of the detailed activities. Although you do get the student activities, the full lesson plan has so many more activities that are available for you and your students. So this is the Malala lesson. And as you can see, if we go into the historical context, the heroic context, we give you the teacher preparation for the lessons on the different, for this lesson, there's an Iron Chef protocol. So we provide the templates for you, activities that you can go ahead and get together for your students. We go through the whole class discussion. We have questions for you. Then we go through the whole class activity to help you. This one, we have a brain pop video that's age appropriate for elementary students. And then we have the CNN or ABC video that's more appropriate for older students. So we try to be very deliberate in what we provide for you. And then we move on to the student activities, where this is what they will be doing as they work and before going to Minecraft. We always try to have an activity before they get into Minecraft so that they will have some type of contextual knowledge. And then we walk through the Minecraft world. We typically have a writing or reflection prompt that students will participate in. We really have them reflect after every activity, because this content is so detailed and it can be heavy and emotional. So we want students to be able to reflect on what they saw, how they felt based on this. And then we always have extension activities where students can connect the text to self, their community, or their state, or whatever it may be. So that was important. And we have resources to external resources and references. So this is the full lesson plan.
Felicia, if I could just say, this is not a lesson that you want to like walk into class on Friday morning and say, oh, I didn't prepare anything for my kids today. We're going to do the Good Trouble world. You really need to spend some time on the front end going through the lesson plan and digesting it and making sure you feel comfortable with the content and the questions that might arise. We've given you tons of resources and links and videos. And so we've given you a lot, but just make sure that you look at it before you and digest it before you jump in with your kiddos.
Absolutely. And you probably will be provided a link from the first lesson, the Good Trouble lesson. We also share additional resources with teachers. We have a Q&A, because we know that some of these topics, parents or teachers may be leery of teaching or not really knowing how to teach this content. So we try to provide a Q&A to answer some of those questions that are on people's mind about those particular content that's provided across the Good Trouble lessons. Amy, do you have time for any more questions?
I see that Mary's here with us, and we're actually
Hi, Mary.
30 minutes. So, hey, Mary.
No, they're very excited for the fact that you have put so many resources into those lesson plans. And I don't think a lot of teachers realize that lesson plans are embedded in a lot of the Minecraft lessons, but yours not only have resources, but differentiated resources. So everyone is very thankful that you considered, because a lot of us who teach the primary grades, I'm a 5th grade teacher, it's really helpful to have appropriate materials to show kids, because some things are a little too severe or a little too,
And that's why we always stress in every lesson for the teacher to make sure they look at the content or the video first to know what's age appropriate.
And I'm just thinking specifically to the Malala lesson, there are some videos in there that do have it shows the reality of what she went through. And so if your students are not ready for that, we've given you videos that are a little bit lighter in nature or in content, so that that you feel a little bit more comortable.
Yeah,
right.
No, it's wonderful. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we worked also closely with tolerance.org and now formerly tolerance.org. Now I can't remember the new name, but they gave their blessing across these lessons because they deal so much with the equity, the inclusion, and bias, and this is what they deal with teaching this type of content. So we're very thankful for their support as well.
No, absolutely. And I was thinking this is also a wonderful crossover into SEL, social emotional, because it opens up so many questions and a conversation you can have with students as well. So crossing over between current events and social emotional and
Absolutely.
character development, right?
Right. And that's one thing we want students to know, that you can, or teachers, you can start here, but this is by no means an exhaustive list of who could have been a part of this Good Trouble world. So they can have their own Good Trouble lesson, you know, bring in another activist that's been a catalyst for positive change, and have students build in a Blocks of Grass world. So there are so many different things that you can do with this lesson.
Yeah,
sorry, Tammy, we didn't
no, you go ahead, please.
That the teacher does not have to know how to play Minecraft in order for this to work. Everything that's in here is what your kids are going to do. You're going to facilitate the lesson, and then your kids jump into the world and they do the creating. So if you're not a Minecraft expert like me, you can totally do what these lessons have. You can offer these lessons to your kids.
Well, we really appreciate having you on here. I'm seeing on the one of the questions, it's not really a question, it's from one of our uppy-ups in NCCE. Shannon's wanting you to come to our conference and present on this. So
Hi,
I hope you will consider, because we would love that. And thank you, ladies, for the work that you're doing. So many of us look for ways to reach our students in how to bring love and understanding and compassion. And it's so wonderful that you have put this whole plan, you and Ken put this whole thing together for us to share with our students. It's so much hate is in the world today. And so we appreciate that you never give up, never give in, never become hostile. Hate is too big a burden to bear, as John Lewis once said. So thank you for being here today with us on Live from NCCE. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Be sure that you tune in next week at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern for Claudio Zavala Jr., who will be teaching us about what kinds of tools you can use for storytelling. I know one I just saw today with Good Trouble. So thank you again for joining us from Live from NCCE with Felisa Ford and with Natasha Rachel. Thank you, ladies. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.